I did come to JPL out of college, and it was I was thinking about going into the CIA. I was also thinking about going into the Peace Corps, and just the appeal of the space business brought me to JPL. But then I took a year off and I did I taught English and Bible in the former Soviet Union. I worked at NASA headquarters, and I also worked at one of our contractors out there, Orbital Sciences. And then I've also taken time off. I have 3 kids, so lots of different things, but always employed at some level or on some leave of absence from the Jet Propulsion Lab.
For 3 decades, thousands of stories were given life in our print room before being sent to your home. Each week, an individual walks into this room to give life to an incredible, one-of-a-kind story. These aren't your local politicians or well-known celebrities. They are everyday people, much like yourself, eager to share a piece of their lives with you.
I grew up on a farm in Ohio, and so I didn't actually have a lot of exposure to it in my school or anything like that. My dad farmed about 50 acres, but he was also an engineer. I remember in our farmhouse in Ohio, my dad had these pictures up on the wall, and there was one over the stereo where I would play my Barry Manilow records. There was one over the stereo that was like this rocket at White Sands, and Dad would tell stories about the White Sands and being in the blockhouse, which is the place you go so the rockets don't burn you up if they don't go the right direction, right? Being in the blockhouse and watching these rockets scream across the ground, because this is the beginning of the space industry. And when I was in high school trying to decide whether I wanted to go into music, which I really loved, I wanted to be a concert pianist, but I wasn't quite good enough, or I wanted to go into some sort of science-y engineering career. It really appealed to me to kind of do that type of thing because it sounded exciting based on my dad's stories. And so the other thing is I ended up getting into MIT, which I didn't even know what it was, but my dad and mom did, and they said you should go there. And that's what got me kind of down the engineering route. There weren't many young women, and they partnered me with a lady named Jan Chodas, who had been at the lab probably for about 10 years. She was a successful female at the lab, and they made her my mentor. And to this day, Jan is still my mentor. She's head of the mission assurance division at JPL, and she's on the executive council. But because I've been able to see her before me and how she's gotten to where she is, it allows me to believe in the same things for myself.
Sky Crane started.
Signal to us, you remain strong.
Touchdown confirmed. We're safe on Mars.
Some long time ago, we think the environment on Mars was able to support some form of life because the water was fresh, there was an atmosphere, it protected you from radiation, things like that. Building a rover that does similar things to Curiosity, but then can take and core those samples and save them so we can bring them back to a lab on Earth is pretty cool. It's the first step towards a Mars sample return, towards a sample return from, anywhere that's another planet. We've never done that. And so we're actually flying an instrument that will take the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and show that you can make oxygen, which would be a way to make propellant for the sample return vehicle that has to get off the surface of Mars and get whatever these samples are back to Earth. So it's a really, I think, profound step, both scientifically and engineering-wise, this next mission, and that's why I'm excited to work on it.
Jennifer is one of the people who gave birth to these rovers, but she had the good sense to wait for her own child until the missions were successfully landed. So here's our good friend and expected mother, Jennifer Trosper.
They told me at my 20-week ultrasound that she would never be born alive. She has heart and kidney function. She has a genetic, she was diagnosed with a deadly genetic trisomy in utero. And so this is kind of one of the reasons I believe and I want to put hope in people, because there is hope. Because that's what they told me. And you know what? I just said, I don't buy it, right? I don't buy it. Now I have a religious faith and I have prayed and I believe that you can pray things into being, right? And I said, I get that the facts are 1,000% against us, right? But I don't buy it. And I believe that Jessica, my daughter, is gonna be born alive, and she is gonna grow up, and she is gonna play softball, and she's gonna play soccer, and they told me she wouldn't walk, she wouldn't talk. I'm like, yeah, forget that. She's gonna be a kid who isn't gonna be constrained by what you said about her, right? And Jessica today, and she's had 3 heart surgeries and a spine surgery. She certainly has challenges, and right now it's hard for her to speak. I speak that hope into her, and that's what I want to speak into these girls. You got to speak it in, and then they believe it, and I believe she will speak. And so I tell that to her, and I think someday she will speak. I think we just kind of have to look beyond what appears to be the facts into what can be hope and what could be the facts of the future if we would just believe it into being. A farm girl from Ohio who grew up weeding the bean field and taking care of sheep and pigs, standing up there and saying, I've been a part of teams that have landed 4 rovers on Mars. They don't see that many women. They see some women, but in general, if somebody is gonna get on TV and talk about the space program, it's not a woman, right? It's a man. And if somebody is being asked about a launch vehicle or a Mars mission, you just don't see that many women there. So I think questions could come up in their heads, which would be like, well, why don't women do that? Are women not well suited for that role? Is that why women aren't the ones telling me about this? Women aren't the NASA administrators and things like that. We want to make sure we encourage them that you can do this. You could be the best at it, frankly. There's no reason, because you're a woman, you couldn't be the NASA administrator or whatever. It's just that hasn't happened yet. They have a great foundation to move us more quickly into grand places and space exploration, and that excites me, right? And I don't want any of them to feel like they shouldn't be doing that.
We have today Jennifer Trosper. She's the Mars Science Laboratory Mission Manager. She's with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory.